Hey, what's up guys? I'm Joe Bennett. I've led product teams and design teams for about the last 10 years. And I want to take a minute in this video to share with you something that could really help you if you're wanting to get into UX design or if you're leading design teams, UX teams. And what that is the 5 layers of UX. And they all start with S's and they go like this: strategy, then it goes to scope, then it goes to structure, then skeleton, and then surface. And that progression, it goes from abstract to concrete. And I want to talk through these different layers with you today, and hopefully it will help you if you are a designer who wants to get into UX or you're doing UX in some way. It helps you understand which kind of part of the process you might fit best in and what part you might like most. And if you're leading design teams, it will help you understand where you might need to beef up certain parts of your team, where you might be stacked a little heavy, and help you be able to manage that team well and lead that team well. Okay, so let's dig in. Let's talk about the 5 layers. I'm gonna kind of go briefly one by one and then do some recaps. Okay, so let's start with strategy. Oh, and again, none of these are necessarily better than the others. They're just different skills, different talents. And you'll find that they're all necessary along the way to do and to build a great experience. Okay, so let's start with strategy. Strategy is very abstract. It's where you're meeting with the business stakeholders, with users, trying to understand like what is it that we're actually going to build? What is the experience that we're going to design? And it's a lot of brainstorming and coming together and sharing ideas. And once you've then decided the thing that you're going to do, from that point on, you move to the next place, which is scope. At the scope stage, you're taking the ideas you've got and you're putting them into, here are the list of things that this is actually going to do. What's the scope of our project? What's the scope of our experience? What are the things it's going to do and not do? And with that list, once you've got the scope of what you're actually going to go do down, then you can move on to the next layer, which is structure. With structure, this is commonly known in our industry as boxes and arrows. The boxes and arrows are where you start to diagram out the actual flow that you're going to go through. You do a box of one screen, you do an arrow to the next screen, classic, right? And that helps you to be able to create the experience. At that point, you start to get more concrete than the abstract phase of the strategy place, and then you can move into, after the structure, after you get your flow diagram, then you can move into the skeleton, which is the wireframing of the interface. At this point, a lot of people are familiar with this, of doing the wireframes that are not totally polished like a UI, but they're far enough along so that you can understand what this UI might look like. Then from there, of course, the next step is surface, and surface is the UI portion. That's the portion that users interface with, so-called the user interface, and it is the most concrete piece. Okay, so the 5 layers are strategy, and then scope, structure, skeleton, and surface, moving from abstract and more on the business side to concrete and all on the user side. These 5 layers are necessary for the whole thing. Now I'm going to quickly talk about some of the skills you might need in each one of these layers so you can see, oh, this is what I might really be interested in, or this is where skills are lacking on my team, or you know what, this person's really good at this, so maybe I should put them in this layer and help them focus on that. All right, so let's look at the skills real quick. Strategy, you need someone who's maybe outgoing, extroverted, ready to get in there and rock a brainstorm, pull ideas out of people, challenge, go back and forth and say, is this the thing we really want to build? And you need somebody who can really be a strong collaborator and very interactive and comfortable around business leadership and users. All right, from there, if you're let's go to the scope next. With scope, you need somebody who might be a little more detail-oriented, who is very logical, who can take something that was maybe in the cloud that just got dreamed up by some very creative folks and take that down into, okay, here are the list of the things that we actually want to accomplish with this experience. All right, so from there, you're gonna go into structure. The structure piece, you need someone who is a good big picture thinker, but can also work that down into, now how do we actually get this person from point A to point B in this experience? You need someone who can think logically and kind of cyclically and creatively to be able to document this flow that this experience, that person is really, at that point, is really starting to craft the experience of what's going to happen. Very influential step. Okay, after that, you need someone who's great with wireframing to go on to the skeleton piece. And again, this might be someone who might be one person. You know, might be one person wearing all these hats and they know how to shift. But This step right here with the wireframing piece, there's a really great piece of awareness to have, and that is to not do too much. If it's one thing I've seen so often in this stage in the skeleton phase, is that people who are wireframing, designers who are wireframing, tend to do too much. They try to darken in the lines too much, and what happens is they're taking all this taking all this abstract information, and it's the first time it's actually getting into maybe something a little more concrete, and what's happening is they do too much, and at that phase, they're not leaving enough for the UI designer, the last step, and two, because they're doing too much detail, the ROI on their time, the return on investment of their time is going down. Because at this point, we still want the process and the experience to be very fluid and to be able to be changed. So at this point, make sure that if you are in the wireframing step, or if you're leading a team and you're wireframing, that you don't do too much detail. You want to do just enough so that you're kind of putting the bones, so to speak, with the skeleton into the experience, so that you can kind of see how it moves, but you're not totally fleshing it out yet. All right, so make sure you don't do too much. All right, from there, the next step, the last step in this is surface, very concrete. The skills needed for this are great UI design, some interaction design. This is where you start to see the signature interactions, really great color schemes and color theory. People that have a great sense of visual aesthetic will have a good role here. Okay, so those are the 5 layers of UX. Again, here, let me recap them real quick. They are, you start with strategy, then you go to I'm blanking here. It says strategy, then you go to scope, then you go to structure, then you go to skeleton and surface. See, I know what I'm talking about. I can do this. So those are the 5 layers. All right, and there's different skills along the way, and they weave kind of in and out. They bleed in and out. Different, of course, with the project. This isn't just always the case, but it's a good guideline to see, are we going through this process well, these 5 layers well? Is our team strong and efficient across all these layers? Who on my team is better at one or the other? And if you're a designer, you can look at these different 5 layers and see which one you gravitate towards most, and to be able to dedicate and sharpen your skills in those areas. Okay, I hope those have been helpful for you. Have a great day.